Alright, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to make sure that our model is working correctly and that it basically addresses all the issues that might occur when a user uses it and then it saves. Basically, we just want to make sure that it works. Alright, so in my last video, we created this wonderful model. So now we're going to actually test it. So I'm actually going to remove that. So if you go to the idea list test.swift file, you see that we have some default code here. You could definitely read into this. I highly recommend, if you are not familiar at all with XCT or XCTest, definitely look into it. Basically, it'll help you define custom tests. Basically, test cases provide a way to group together multiple test methods. So basically what we need to do is we need to create some test methods, and once we define what we want it to do, then it will test. So basically we'll do everything we would do if we had to do it manually, but because that's a waste of time in general, why not program it to test it for us? And again, if you have any questions, definitely read about the framework here. Basically, we will create and run some unit tests. We're just going to be doing unit tests. We're not going to do performance tests or UI tests. I'm not going to do it in this video. I'm just going to do some unit tests on the model. So basically what we're going to need to do is we need to create some methods, and this is the basic layout. We create just regular method function, and then we give the test a very long name. It has to be really descriptive, so it doesn't matter how long it is because we won't actually reuse it. It will only run once, and we actually never have to retype the name of the method ever again once we type it out. So we can make it as long as we want, it doesn't matter. And then we're going to assert test conditions with the XCT assert family. So there are different asserts. We can check for Boolean values with just assert true and false. And then we can also check for nil values, assert nil or not nil. We can check for equality, we can check for inequality, we can check for related values and errors and failure and things like that. So if you have any question about any of this, definitely click on it. I'm going to be actually using checking for nil values and not nil. These are the two functions that I'll be using to test. So let's just jump right into it. Alright, so let's select all of the default tests here and actually remove it because I won't need it. So let's go ahead and create a mark. And this is just going to be idea class test. Okay, so now I'm going to basically test the different functionality for the model. And when you do tests, you want to keep it really simple, really basic. Basically, unit tests are for testing small, self-contained pieces of code. So basically, we want to make sure that the code behaves as expected. So each test should be very, very specific and very basic, not really long or complicated, because if something fails, we want to be able to pinpoint where that point of failure was. And if our tests are way too extensive and too long and whatnot, we won't be able to find the error. So we want to really keep it really straightforward and to the point. Alright, so again, we just create a method, so func, and then we describe the test, and you can make it as long as you possibly want. So I'm going to do test idea initialization and then let's see, succeeds. Yeah, let's do succeeds. So basically, if given everything it possibly would need to succeed, it will. So basically we're going to give it all valid values. And how we do that is basically we're going to create a constant, mainly because we're not going to be manipulating this variable at all. So we're going to do let, let's see, well, I'm going to do 0 image. So I'm not going to add an image. So I'm just going to say all valid input, or all valid idea equals, and then I'm going to bring in the class, which is idea, and init. Okay, so Bill succeeded. There we go. So make sure you build. Make sure you build to bring in the data model. That's what I forgot to do. Okay. That would actually help, right? So I'm just going to do test idea name and do some test notes. An image is going to be nil. Like I said, I'm not going to bring in image. And what this should be is it should be valid. So it should be XCT assert not nil. So I want this one here. So what I wanted to return, or what I want to bring in, is the valid idea constant. And we can add a message if we want. I could, I guess. Why not? The idea was successful. Why not? All valid data was successful. Okay, so that's my first test. My second test, let's see here. So that's all valid. It should return just fine. Then the next thing I want to test is initialization failed, because I also want to make sure that that it fails correctly as well. Like, say if there are spaces added and no other characters. So I want to make sure that it actually fails for either the name or the notes. So let's go ahead and test that. So let empty name initialization fails, and see, oops, empty name idea, and then we'll do idea init. So it's going to be just empty name, so nothing in it. And the notes will have valid notes, test notes, and image is going to be nil. And this should be XC assert nil. And we're just going to type in empty name idea. And then we're also going to test for let empty notes idea equal idea. And then we're going to have a valid name here. So test idea name. And notes is going to be empty. Nil. And this should also assert a nil. And another thing I need to test actually is if there's like a space. So let's empty name, no, let space for name idea equal idea init, and I'm just going to add a space in here, but the notes are valid. We have to make sure that that also is nil. So space for name idea. Oops, it's the wrong one. Space for name idea. Oops, I did it twice. Okay. And I also want to check for just a space entered for notes. Oops, that's supposed to be valid. And then there's only supposed to be a space entered for the notes. Okay, and then I guess another thing I need to test is that for notes that there isn't like just a new line added. So because that wouldn't be valid data either. All right, and that should also be nil. All right. Okay, so we have our test for success. So everything's valid entered in, and then we have all of our failures so we have to test our failures. So checking for empty name, empty notes, a space for the name, a space for the notes, and then a new line for the notes. Okay, let's try this out. Actually, let me turn this down just a tad. Okay, so to run a test, I actually do a command, which is a command U. I believe it's under debug. No, here we go. Yeah, so product test is command U, and that's what I'm actually going to do. Actually, like I said, I like to use commands. As you see, it's testing now.
Test generated issues.
Okay, so I have some test failure. Now, when you run your test, you might not get the voice announcement, and if you don't, if you go, actually, let me show you how to do this. So if you don't have this set up, I have it set up under preferences. So Xcode preferences, go to behaviors, and you can actually specify what you want for test starting. You can show the debug editor. I have show debugger and current views. Generates new issues. I have an announcement, like I have different different voices tell me the different issues and then where to show it. Basically just do show, and then you can say where you want it to show. And then succeeds has a different, also has a different voice, and then I say notify using bezel system notification, and fails, I have it play a sound, and then so I know. So you can specify what you want to happen where and what sounds you want, or if you want voice over or whatnot. I like voiceover because it's very clear. All right, so with that said, let's see what failed. So our empty name and empty notes was successful. We see that when we have correct information, that's successful, which is great. But we see that when there's a space for the name or the notes or a new line entered in for the notes, we get a failure. So we need to update our model to catch that. So this is obviously not working, and since it doesn't work and it goes through anyway, what we need to do is we need to ensure that if it isn't successful, that it jumps out of initialization. So the way to do this is to use a guard statement. So let's go ahead and do that. So we do guard just to make sure that if anything does fail, it just jumps out of initialization. So we're going to do guard, and then let's do name first, because we have to do this for both the name and for the notes. So in order to check for empty spaces, what I'm going to be doing is using some built-in functionality. So I'm going to bring in some methods that come with the string type. So I'm going to do dot notation, so name dot notation, and I want to trim characters. And so what this does is it returns a new string that's made up by removing from both ends of the string characters containing a given character set. So I'm going to specify some characters that will need to be pulled out of the string so that I can use it to test. So I'm going to use this method, and I need to insert a character set. Now, this is the fun part. So I'm going to do, again, dot notation or enumeration. And with enumeration, it gives me all the character or certain, specified character sets that are provided for us. And what I'm looking for is actually white spaces. So I don't want any white spaces inside the name. So I'm going to do that. And so what it's going to do is it's going to remove all the white spaces in the title, so the idea, title, or name. And then once it does that, what I want to do is I also want it to count the characters that are left. So I'm going to do characters, count. And the reason why I'm doing that is because if there are just spaces in there, there should be no characters left after the white spaces are taken out. So the count will be 0. And that's what I'm testing for. It has to be greater than 0. If it's not greater than 0, then it will jump out of this code entirely. But if there are characters contained in name, then it will continue to initialize. So again, if it will return nil. Oopsie, else, forgot else. Okay, so if it's greater than 0, then it will immediately jump down and continue initializing. If not, then it will jump right out. So so basically we need it to actually contain something. And I also need to do this for, obviously, my, I need to also do this for the notes as well. So let's go ahead and let's make sure we run this real quick. I'm probably gonna get a lot of errors because I didn't do the same thing for notes. Okay, I did build, sorry. Nope, cancel. So it's testing now. So we obviously have no
generated issues. So
we obviously did it correctly as far as the code, but now the test is failing again. So I was suspecting this to fail because I removed the conditional for the notes. But as we see here for the space, this one is successful. It did recognize that the name only contains spaces, so that one did pass. So let's go ahead and fix notes as well. So let's go back to the model. Okay, so I'm going to make this kind of long because I just want to handle everything in one get-go. So again, I'm going to do the same thing for notes, and then I'm going to do trim characters in, and then I'm going to give the character set. So the character set I want is white spaces and new lines. Continue on with the count, and it too has to be greater than 0. Okay, so the error should go away, which it does. Awesome. All right, so if that doesn't make sense, I actually can turn this down so you can kind of see the whole entire long mess this is. It's a long mess, but it's actually pretty clean, to be honest. Okay, so let's go ahead and save this and run these tests again. So Command U. Okay, so the build is good.
Test generated issues.
Okay, we still have one failure. All right, so they all failed. So maybe I need to split that out again. So I'm just gonna copy that, remove it. Maybe just do another guard statement.
Build
Oops.
failed.
I know, I'm sorry. I meant to paste that in there. All right. I didn't mean to hit build, I meant to hit copy. Okay, so I don't know why this is. Let's do build again. Okay. Trying to get that error message to go away. And I'm just going to type this out. Trim characters in. And I want white spaces and new lines. I want to count the characters. And it should be greater than 0, else it needs to return nil. Okay, so this is good because first it's going to check the name. If that passes, awesome. Then it's going to check the notes. If that passes, awesome. Then it will just go ahead and initialize everything. All right, let's try this again. I'm going to build real quick. Build is good. I'm going to run my tests, so Command U.
Test succeeded.
Yay, it succeeded. His voice sounds so chipper too. So, all right, so we have success. So now this will ensure that the user can't enter in just a space for the name, and they also cannot just enter in some new lines, even though the way I have the keyboard set up, they can't enter new lines. But at the same time, if they just copy a new line by accident or something and try to paste that in there, they can't. So it has to contain some character. Doesn't matter, like, if it's one. Okay, so our tests have succeeded. We've built our model. Let's go ahead and we can run our app, make sure everything's okay. I'm positive that it is. So go ahead and commit your changes, and go ahead and meet me on the next video where we will implement a table view controller. So that should be really fun. I'm super excited about it. Okay, so friends, if this has helped you at all, just give it a thumbs up. Until next time, keep calm and code on. Thanks.